St. Anne's. We are going to do a little social studies lesson today and show you what we do in social studies. But first, my kids would like to say a little something before we get started. Anyone?
Hi, Miss. Hi. St. Anne's. Hi.
All right, you guys ready? Anything to say? Callie wants to say something.
Don't take her from us. We'll die. I'm telling you, we'll die. I mean, she was going to be a 5th grade teacher. And it's madness. Okay, at least you could start now.
Okay, more serious. All right. So who can remember? Today we're going to talk about, I know Candy, today we're going to talk about how Florida grew as a territory before it became a state. And who can remember, just to refresh our memory, about the Seminole War, the Second Seminole War? Can anyone tell me for a piece of candy? Right, that got your attention. Anything that they remember, a main idea from the Seminole War, Savannah?
Osceola died when they captured her.
Okay, their chief Osceola died when he was captured. And how was he captured? Why was he captured?
Because they were supposed to talk about peace, but they captured him.
Right, he went for a peace talk. He thought he was going to have some kind of compromise, and when he went to talk to the U.S. Army, he was captured, and he ended up dying in prison. Right. Anything else, Zachary?
Osceola attacked Governor Duval, or not Governor Duval, Major Francis Dade.
Okay.
Killed like hundreds of people.
And that was called the
Dade Massacre.
Dade Massacre. And that was the very first battle of the Seminole War. And who could you declare the winner of that battle? Who would you declare the winner?
Osceola.
I would certainly declare the Seminoles as the winner of that, right? Anyone else? One more thing. Avery.
The Seminoles were really outnumbered.
They were greatly, greatly outnumbered. And for our friends up in Annapolis who don't really understand the seriousness of the heat and humidity in Florida, even though the Seminoles were greatly outnumbered, they did have a little home court advantage, didn't they? What was that, Avery?
That the Spanish people were used to the heat and humidity.
They were not used to the heat and humidity, and that made it pretty hard for them to fight the Seminoles, who knew what they were doing and knew where to hide and whatnot. So today we're going to do a little activity. If you see up on the board, who thinks they know what this is? Just by looking at it, what does it look like? And obviously it's for Nebraska, but what does it look like, Andy?
A land poster?
It looks like a land brochure. What do you mean by that?
Like a land poster?
A poster for lands, okay. Gabrielle, what do you think?
An ad?
It looks like an ad, right? What are they selling in this poster?
Maybe Iowa and Nebraska?
Are they selling the whole state?
Maybe some land in it?
Land, right? They're looking for land. So this is actually an advertisement, as you said, for land out west. We're going to make an advertisement for some land for settlers to come to Florida. And before you do that, what you need to read, and we're going to do as partners, you're going to read section 3 in your textbook with your partner. You're going to fill out this graphic organizer together. It's a very short passage. Some major inventions in transportation, as well as some new jobs, came to Florida, and I want you to focus on that so that we can share together. And we're going to brainstorm some ideas, and then what you're going to do independently is you're going to make an advertisement for people to come to Florida. Because we've known ever since the Spanish owned it, and the British, and the French, and now the United States, what has Florida struggled with? Savannah.
Becoming a successful colony?
Becoming successful because they struggled with what particularly? Not having enough settlers, right? Because it's a really kind of rough place to be. It's unsettled. It's uncharted territory, right? All right, so the first thing you're going to do is partner read, specifically looking for this information. I'm going to give you about 20 minutes, and then we're going to gather together and go on. Make sense? All right. Okay, so last night's homework was to write up your reading response questions to chapters 1 through 3 in Ben and Me. So before we begin sharing a few of those examples, does anyone want to tell our friends at St. Anne's what ACET means? Callie.
ACET means the A stands for to answer completely, and you need to put all the text evidence together, and you have to look through the book. Definitely look through the book. And The C stands for to cite text 7, assess the big ones, what most of your response questions should be about. And she likes you to include the page number and specific details from the text.
And the E
And
means?
the E means explain the main idea, like in your opening sentence, it needs to have the topic and what it's about and how you're going to answer it.
Great. So does anyone want to share an example of what an ACID question sounds like? All right. Caroline, tell us, what was the question you were answering?
Describe the events that led up to Amos living in Brensford Cap.
Okay.
Amos decided that he wanted to run away from home so they would have one less mouth to feed. Amos decided that he would leave on the coldest night in Philadelphia. When he gets to Ben's home, he goes in one room where someone is snoring. So he decides to go in the next room, with a fire and a man trying to write a book, but kept doing a sneezing routine. All of a sudden, he spies a peephole somewhere and goes to climb in it, and goes to sleep. But it's actually Ben's hat. The next morning, Amos wakes up and starts a new life at Benjamin Franklin's home.
Great. That's wonderful. Does anyone have a different question? Avery, which one did you answer?
How do Americans and Amos view Ben Franklin differently?
So how does Amos want us to think Ben Franklin is? Okay.
Americans view Benjamin Franklin way different than Amos does. Amos says that Ben does almost none of the work and it was all him. But Americans say he's ingenious. On page 4, the text says, all of these ill-informed scribblers seemed astonished at Ben's great fund of information, at his brilliant decisions, at his seeming knowledge of all that went on about him. Had they asked me, I could have told them it was me. On the other hand, on page 8, the text says, everybody in Philadelphia knew great Dr. Benjamin Franklin, scientist, inventor, picture editor, author, soldier, statesman, and philosopher. One way the views are similar is that they both think he is a great man. For example, on page 4, the text says, Ben was undoubtedly a splendid man.
A long answer. Good job, Avery. All right, thank you for sharing. Before we move on to reading chapters 4 and 5, to see what other hilarious things Amos does, we're going to do a little warm-up of our vocabulary that we went over yesterday. So, you're fine there. I'm going to give you a vocabulary word, and you and a partner will have literally 2 minutes. How many seconds is 2 minutes?
120.
120 seconds. Okay, you're going to have 120 seconds to get together a little skit. And by skit, I mean something super easy, just describing and acting out what this word means. Okay? So it doesn't have to be elaborate. Just put your heads together, practice it one time, and then come back to the carpet. Okay? So propose. I want you and Joseph to do propose. Genius, you and Andy. Savannah, I want you and Kat to do
So
that.
the skit has to have the vocab word in it?
You have to act it out. And then we're going to figure out what it means. Friends, can you sit down, please?
Are you videotaping?
Grace, I would like for you and Zachary to do disreputable. Vestry, Avery, and Gabrielle. Maxim, Tess, and Tess by yourself. Devised, and do you have a partner?
Randy doesn't have a partner.
Do delirious. All right, go.
I would like to go to the school and continue to do I refer to I would pronounce that
Spell the word. All right. Fourth grade, can you hear me? Stop.
Collaborate and listen.
All right, if you would please come to a stopping point, whether you're finished with the chapters or not, put a sticky note where you are, and as you're transitioning and putting your things away, I'd like for both you and your partner to write a 6-word summary on the whiteboard. All right, if your 6-word summary is on the board, then you should have cleaned up your yellow folder and everything should be in your desk. ready for recess. There should be nothing on your desk right now. While you're organizing yourself, let's go over a few of these. Ben lost Amos and found him. That is true. Ben also thought that Amos was dead. Amos changed up Ben's maxims. That's hilarious. Ben lost Amos and his clothes. True. Ben went swimming and Amos corrected. Corrected what? What do we mean by that?
The book.
Oh, he corrected the book, the almanac. Ben and Amos argued a lot. I don't think they argued. Who wrote that? What did they argue about?
About like when me and Andy were reading, they were arguing about like
The book.
yeah, the printers. Yeah.
Okay, so Ben yelled a little bit at Amos for changing the Poor Richard's almanac.
And
Ben lost his clothes while swimming. Okay, so today for math, we're going to play my absolute very favorite game for math, which is Scoop. I love it. So we're going to play Geometry Scoop. We've been working with perpendicular lines, different shapes, triangles, angles, so forth. So everyone's got a card on their desk, one of these. I have some on the back counter, I have some on my desk, and I have some back here on the computer table, all right? So for those of you, Gabrielle, we've played Scoop before, haven't we? Okay, so the only things I want to point out to you is that these triangles, these little lines on this triangle, I used them yesterday. Do you guys remember me drawing triangles and putting those different lines? This means that this is one length. You don't know what the length is, but this is a totally different length, and that's a totally different length. So if you see a shape, for example, that has, what does this mean? This has got 3 lines on it, and that's got 3 lines on it. It means that those two are what?
symmetrical.
Congruent. And these two are? See how it has one line here and one line here? Those 2 lines are congruent. This shape has all 4 the same, because there's 2 lines, 2 lines, 2 lines, 2 lines. So you know that all 4 of those are congruent, okay? Obviously you have your record sheet. Look at the card that's on your table, on your desk. It has a number in the corner, so you're going to start. If you start for number 13, please do not put your answer in number 1. Put it in number 13, okay? Any questions? All right, do the one that's at your table first, and then you may get up and scoot around. Yes, sir.
No sense. Which one of these is a parallelogram? It's like a rhombus, a trapezoid. How do you come up with it?
Remember how I asked you to take your math journal with you so that you could reference that page in your math journal?
These have like all the same sides with that.